Peace be with you. My name is Alan Kiesler. Welcome to the Institute of All Intelligent Life. We're having a very special class today because we've been learning from whistleblowers about the secret space programs and about the activities of various extraterrestrial groups. Today we're going to be talking about Pakistan and the position of Pakistan in all of this, and specifically the relationship between Pakistan and India. The reason why this is important is because Pakistan is not an ordinary country. And this truth is coming out more and more, and I hope that those who are listening to this will understand this and realize, especially those of you who are Pakistanis, do not be deceived by the propaganda that is being done against Pakistan. This is a very big program, has been going on for a long time, because forces, evil forces, which are backed by these extraterrestrials that we have been talking about, who have been manipulating humanity, they are trying to destroy Pakistan. Why? Because Pakistan is the land of the pure. Pakistan means Pak Asthan, पाक लोगों का स्थान, वो जगह जहाँ पाक लोग रहते हैं या पाक लोग जमा होंगे. That is a fact. And of course there is a lot of propaganda. There are many attempts to delude Pakistani people into thinking that that is false. There have been efforts from the beginning of the creation of Pakistan to destroy the unity of the country, to destroy the sincerity of the leaders, to put into place selfish leaders who will do the will of evil, satanic forces. But praise be to God, they have failed. Of course, East Pakistan was separated from West Pakistan and became Bangladesh. But what we know as Pakistan today, this is the land that has been prophesied for thousands of years. And I just will mention a couple. I've discussed these before, but I think it's important to be reminded of them. The Holy Prophet Muhammad himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made a famous statement, which is not as famous as it should be, but he made the statement, which is in hadith, although it's not very popular, it's not very well known, it's not recorded in many of the hadith collections, but he stated, I am an Arab, but Arabia is not in me. I am not from Hind, but Hind is in me. And what is Hind? Hind does not mean India. At that time, when the Holy Prophet, peace be on him, was present on this planet, there was no such place as we call India today, known by that name Hind. Hind literally means, just like the word India actually means, Indus, the land along the banks of the Indus. So the Indus River area is what the Holy Prophet, peace be on him, was referring to. And by the word Hind, he meant actually what we today call Pakistan. What is the land along the Indus River is Pakistan. So many great saints and sages have foreseen this land of the pure, this Pakistan. And I could give more examples if you want to. You can see my Facebook post where I talk about in some detail, and there are a lot of other websites that also talk about spiritual Pakistan. So how do we tie this in to our class about extraterrestrial life? This is a very, very vital point for especially Pakistanis, but for every sincere person in the world to understand. And that is that, first of all, every part of the world is good. The people of every part of the world are good. Human beings in general are good. But there are evil forces, satanic forces, which are constantly trying to counteract that goodness and are promoting evil. So what is the role of religion in all of this? Religion is from God and is good, but religion has often or practically always been exploited and used by evil forces. And therefore we have two different types of religion. We have real religion, which basically means love, kindness, forgiveness, truthfulness, and that is deen. That is religion, which is only one truth. And God is the central point of that religion, the source as well as the goal. But there is also another aspect of religion which is not entirely false, but which has been totally misused by satanic forces, and that is law. And this false religion takes the form of sectarianism, where my religion or my sect within my religion is right and others are wrong, and I will fight against and I will kill those who belong to other religions or other sects even within my religion. So in every religion there are such kinds of people. We may call them fanatics, and they are fanatical, but they are simply people who have been misled by evil forces. So in the world today we see, in the Christian religion, there are such people who are, condemning everyone else and think that only their church is the right one, and even other churches are going to hell. There are such people in the Hindu religion also who are fanatics, and we call them Hindutva followers or Hindutvavadis, who think that Hinduism is the only correct religion, and at least India should be only for Hindus, and we should drive the Muslims out of India. That's actually what such fanatic so-called Hindus, who are not Hindus, but they may be called or thought of as Hindus. So similarly in Islam, there are people who claim to be Muslims. They may even think of themselves as Muslims, but actually their attitudes and their actions prove they are against real Islam. Islam means peace. Islam means the peace that comes from surrendering to God. But such fanatic so-called Muslims, Islamists is the word, just like Hindutva, Vadis is the word for Hindus, Christian fundamentalists. So in Islam also the word has been used, Islamist rather than Muslim, to discuss or to identify those sorts of Muslims who think falsely that Islam is great and every other religion is wrong and bad, and we should even kill off those who do not follow even our sect of Islam. There are, within every religion there are sects that have this teaching. It's incredible. I don't want to particularly mention any names, but there is a group which came from Saudi Arabia, still prominent there, which, why has it become so prominent when it has such incredible teaching that only our group is right and even other Muslims who don't belong to our group should be killed? Of course they can't implement that, but that is their teaching. So this is false religion. This is not Islam. So there are good people and there are bad people in every part of the world and in every religion. So what I want to discuss now is what is happening between India and Pakistan particularly, because this is very, very important, especially for Pakistanis to be convinced, because there's so much propaganda being done, especially in the mass media of the world, which is controlled mostly by these evil elements who call themselves the Illuminati. We call them the Cabal, and they are an alliance of extraterrestrials and human beings. So this, unfortunately, and I really mean that from my heart, because India is not a bad place. I was actually born in Mussoorie before there was a Pakistan. My parents were working in Pakistan, but at the time I was born, they were in Mussoorie, which is in the Himalayas, to get away from the heat. They were there in the cooler part of what was then all India. And so I was actually born in Mussoorie, which is in what was then Uttar Pradesh and now Uttarakhand. And when I was less than 2 months old, or about 2 months old, we migrated, like many muhajirs, from India to Pakistan, which is where my parents were working in Khanewal. So I also then, because in Mussoorie there was a very good Christian missionary school, I went back there to school. My father had also gone to school there. His parents were also missionaries in India. So Mussoorie was like our home, and I went to school. So every year I went back and forth. During the school time I was in Mussoorie in India, and during the vacation time I was in Pakistan. So I could see both sides of this very, very unfortunate conflict between India and Pakistan. And even as a child, I developed this desire to resolve the conflicts between different religions, because I could see from two different perspectives how each side was presenting its perspective as the truth and denying the other. But actually, this is what real Islam is, this is what real Christianity is, this is what real Hinduism is, this is what real every religion is love and understanding, kindness and forgiveness. So, what has happened, unfortunately, I mean it because I love India, just like I love Pakistan, I love India too. But unfortunately, the evil satanic forces in the world have infiltrated the Indian government and Indian intelligence agencies to a great extent, and there was an organization called the Intelligence Bureau within India which was totally evil, and I'm going to talk about that just a little bit now as we discuss the relationship between India and Pakistan. So it is not only the propaganda that has been made against Pakistan, not only by India, but especially by Israeli and American secret agencies, which are the ones who have infiltrated India to a tremendous extent, and also every country in the world, but it is the cause of what's going on in Pakistan and India right now, where these secret evil elements who have penetrated Indian intelligence agencies especially, they have for a long time been creating false flags, that is, terrorist acts, which they try to make it appear are being done by Pakistan or being done by Muslims, when actually they're being done by agents of the cabal who may belong to any country or any religion. But again, prominent among them are the Israeli and American secret agencies and Indian secret agencies also. So the reason why I'm talking about this now is this incident in Uri, in India, where an Indian army base was attacked, and the propaganda immediately was made that Pakistan has done this. False. That is a false flag that was created by the Indian agencies themselves in cooperation and helped by MOSSAD, the Israeli secret intelligence agency, and the CIA. So there are, again, evil elements in all of these countries, and there are also good people. There are many good people in the United States. There are many good people even in Israel who are against their secret agencies who are doing such horrible things to the Palestinian people. There are many, many Jews in America as well as in Israel who are totally opposed to the way the Palestinian people are being treated. And similarly, there are people in India who are against their government's way of treating the people of Kashmir. So there are good people everywhere, but there are also evil people and evil forces who have penetrated Indian government too, and Indian intelligence agencies. Of course, to some extent, they've penetrated Pakistani government and Pakistani intelligence also. But, praise to God, we have in Pakistan right now a very good force acting within the military. And the Pakistan military has been maligned a lot, again, by evil satanic agencies. Not that the Pakistani military is perfect, far from it, has made many mistakes and has been infiltrated also by evil elements. But right now, this is part of Pakistan's destiny and Pakistan's history. The military is becoming more solidly established on the basis of real Islam, on the basis of truth and love and justice. And so the intelligence agencies of Israel, America, and India are combinedly trying to destroy Pakistan and are creating, just like in Pathankot, in the beginning, in January of this year, there was another attack on an Indian, I think it was an Air Force base, and that was also immediately publicized. Oh, Pakistan has done this. No, this was another false flag. So there have been dozens and hundreds of these false flags, both in Pakistan, just like the attack on the Sri Lankan, terrorist attack on the Sri Lankan cricket team. That was also a false flag. It was created by enemies of Pakistan who made it appear that Pakistani Muslim terrorists have done this. So, just to give a few examples, as far back as 1971, when these Indian intelligence agencies wanted to divide East and West Pakistan and prevent the Pakistani military from being able to gain access to East Pakistan so easily, they wanted to deny Pakistan the right to fly over India, which Pakistan had been doing for a long time. So they created this incident where an Indian airplane, which actually had been decommissioned, it was old and useless practically, it was flown to Pakistan and supposedly commandeered by Pakistani or Muslim terrorists who landed it in Lahore. And then they, managed to make some sort of so-called compromise, some arrangements so that the passengers on the plane were released and the plane was destroyed to hide the fact that it was a practically useless plane. So this was a very clever plot, false flag. And once that happened, then India had the excuse they wanted to deny Pakistan the overflights. So similarly, these terrorist activities that are being done, false flag terrorist activities that are being done and being blamed on Pakistan, they are trying to create an excuse to interfere in Pakistan's affairs. And there's so many examples. The Indian Parliament attack in 2001, where some so-called Muslim terrorists, supported and backed by Pakistan, drove into the Indian Parliament building just when Indian Parliament was in session or just after it was recessing, and there was an attempt to create a huge bomb. Fortunately, the security guards were able to prevent that from happening, but those terrorists were caught and killed, and there was some security guards were killed. It would have been a huge, huge incident. But that was also a creation of a false flag creation by Indian and Israeli, maybe the CIA involved too, agencies, just to give an excuse to disrupt the peace process between India and Pakistan, which at that time was starting to progress again. And this is just, one more example. I have before posted on my Facebook page a wonderful article by Arundhati Roy, which reveals that actually, even though a Kashmiri named Muhammad Afzal was executed, he was tried, very false trial, full of very, very questionable tactics, illegal tactics even, but he was eventually executed for having committed that. But he was not guilty. He was simply a patsy, as we say. He was roped into it. And so the people of Kashmir have suffered tremendously, and it's all part of this cabal plan to disrupt Pakistan and to blame Pakistan. So I will just give a couple more examples. Probably the most famous other one is the Mumbai or Bombay attack in 2008, where so-called Pakistani terrorists somehow or the other managed to take a boat from Karachi to Mumbai and not get detected. Indians don't have Coast Guard, they don't have Navy, they don't have radar, they couldn't have detected this ship coming, but somehow they managed to make it all the way to Bombay and then get off their little boat and go into Bombay City and capture these different strategic points and kill so many people and cause a big disturbance, which actually, the fact of the matter is, many of those, if not all of those terrorists, the people who were doing all that killing, they weren't Pakistanis. The Qasab, I think, Qasab, the only one who was caught alive, when he was recorded on video, you can hear those videos. He was not, they said he was from a village in Punjab, in Pakistani Punjab, but you can tell from his accent that he was not Punjabi. He was maybe Bihari or from eastern Uttar Pradesh. He did not speak like a Pakistani person. He did not use the Z, the Z sound, because in eastern India, people don't have any Z in Hindi, and they say Ja instead of Z. And so he was speaking like a person from eastern India, not a Pakistani. And other terrorists, especially the ones who killed Hemant Karkare, who was a great anti-terrorist chief of Maharashtra state who had uncovered a lot of these false flags, those terrorists who killed him were Marathi speaking. People heard them communicating with each other, and it was reported in the press. Newspaper articles even mentioned that they were Marathi speaking terrorists. They weren't Pakistanis. And that was all covered up then. So this attack in Mumbai in 2008, that was also a false flag. And just to mention one or two others, in the Maharashtrian city of Malegaon, I'm not sure quite how that's pronounced, but it's 75% Muslim. And there have been two terrorist events there in 2006 and 2008, where a number of people, mostly Muslims, were killed and injured, a lot of them, and that was then blamed on Muslims. But it was actually done by a Hindutva terrorist group called Abhinav Bharat, which Karkare, Hemant Karkare, the Maharashtra anti-terrorist squad chief at that time in 2008, he found out. He was investigating this blast in Malegaon, and he discovered that this was being done by these Hindutva. They're not really Hindus. They call themselves Hindus. They may think of themselves as Hindus, but they're actually anti-Hindus. Just like the so-called Islamic State is actually anti-Islamic. It's completely against Islamic principles. And it is totally infiltrated and even created by MOSSAD, by CIA, by non-Muslims. But it has the name Islamic State. So similarly, Abhinav Bharat had this name of being, Indian and being Hindu, but it wasn't Hindu. It was anti-Hindu, just like Islamic State is anti-Islamic. So these so-called Hindus, they're anti-Hindu. They're anti the real Hindu religion. The real Hindu religion is based on ancient scriptures which teach there is only one God. There is one ultimate supreme source of everything. And let's see if I can remember. Satyam ekam bahu vadanti vipra. I think that was the quote from the Vedas, which were ancient Sanskrit scriptures, bona fide. There have been many, many prophets, 124,000 or something like that. So there were also prophets in India, ancient, and there were scriptures written in Sanskrit language. But they have been very much changed and corrupted, especially by people like these Hindutva terrorists who think of themselves and call themselves Hindus, and their goal is really to make India a Hindu country and drive out even all the Muslims and Christians, all the non-Hindus. This is a horrible type of misconception about what religion is. So Hemant Karkare had discovered, because he had obtained the laptop of one Dayanand Pandey, who was one of the members of Abhinav Bharat, in which all this came out, that they were planning not only this Malegaon attack in 2008, a Malegaon attack in 2006, There were other attacks that they were involved in, including the Samjhota Express bombing, which the Samjhota Express was a train, is I guess a train that goes between Delhi and Lahore. So it was bombed, and I think about 60 some people were killed, who were mostly Pakistanis, almost all, and many were injured. So that Samjhauta Express bombing was also created by this Abhinav Bharat group of Hindutva terrorists who were backed by intelligence agencies in India, infiltrated intelligence agencies, infiltrated by MOSSAD, Israeli secret intelligence, and the CIA. So this is the fact that Pakistanis must be very careful not to be deluded by the international press, because it made me so angry. As soon as this Uri incident happened and the Pathankot incident happened and so many others, immediately, not only the Indian press, but the press around the world, unfortunately in my country of America too, they immediately blamed Pakistan for that. And when Pakistani press pointed out that this was not, there's no proof that this was done by Pakistan, immediately the Indian and international Zionist-controlled press, media, said, oh, these Pakistanis are saying this is a false flag. Just like 9/11, George Bush said after, oh, people are calling this a conspiracy theory. That was also a false flag created not by Osama bin Laden and Muslim terrorists, but created by elements within the United States government and intelligence agencies, and a large part was played also by Mossad, by Israeli secret intelligence. And there's so many proofs. The steel of a steel skyscraper building cannot be melted by the burning of aircraft fuel. So it was intentionally demolished by explosives being planted within the building, and there's a lot of proof of that. We won't go into that. But just in the same way as that was a false flag and was immediately, it was so funny, because I was fortunate to have a friend who knew people in the Pentagon who immediately announced on his email group that I was a member of that this was a false flag. This was not really what happened, so I knew. And then George W. Bush, so-called President of the United States, who was also illegally captured the presidential post. He didn't win the election, but they rigged the polls to make it look that way, and they twisted the arms of the Supreme Court to support his false election. Anyway, so George W. Bush made this announcement just shortly after 9/11. Oh, conspiracy theorists are saying this. Don't believe them. So in the same way, as soon as this Uri and Pathankot and different false flags were created, immediately the Indian media and international media also is saying, oh, Pakistan is saying this is a false flag. So this is their modus operandi. This is how they try to do things. But Pakistanis, at least, should be well aware that these are not Pakistani Muslim terrorists who are doing these, but they are Indians. They are Indian agents. They are Israeli agents even. In the Mumbai attack, another is shocking to realize this. It came out, eyewitness testimony, that some of those terrorists were white. One was blonde. Who were they? They weren't Indians. They weren't Pakistanis. They were actually Israelis who were in that Chabad house in Nariman Point in Mumbai, which was said to have been attacked by the terrorists, but actually the terrorists were there the day or two before, and they had bought a lot of food and they holed themselves up in that. They weren't outsiders who came in. That Chabad and that Nariman house, this was an Israeli safe house. It was a place where Israeli tourists and agents came and stayed. So some of those men, and maybe women too, who were, I think there was at least one woman too, who were killing people in that Mumbai attack in 2008, they were actually Israelis, white people. So these things all got covered up by the press, by the international media. And even though it came out in the beginning, it all got concealed and covered up. So similarly, these terrorists, Hindutva terrorists that Hemant Karkare, Maharashtra anti-terrorist squad chief had discovered, that all got covered up. And in the ensuing years, although there was clear evidence that they were responsible for Malgaon 2008 and other terrorist acts, including Ajmer Sharif terrorist attack, the Mecca Masjid in Hyderabad, Deccan, these attacks were done by Abhinav Gupta, and Karkare had all that evidence. But Karkare was killed during the Mumbai 2008 attack, and all the work that he had done gradually was covered up, denied. All the witnesses who had testified, they were induced to withdraw their testimony. And now, because of this total infiltration, not total, but very pervasive infiltration of Indian institutions, governmental military institutions, by MOSSAD, secret intelligence forces of India, and CIA in America, those people, those guilty people for the Mumbai attack and other dastardly terrorist attacks, they're being let off. They're being released. So this is what's going on, and I hope everyone will understand this more and more. So we will go to some questions now, because our half hour of the class is up. And I have a question from Daniel Akbar. Where you see Pakistan in 10 years from now? Thank you very much. That's a wonderful question. So I think it's going to be in 10 years from now, maybe less, maybe more, I don't know. But undoubtedly it will happen, because I have been told this by very reliable sources, spiritual sources, as long ago as 1983 or so, when I was first told this, and I myself couldn't understand it at that time. But Pakistan will become a real Pakistan, real land of the pure. Pure-hearted, sincere, good people will gather together in Pakistan and will create a real spiritual revolution in which real pure Islam, peace, love, justice, prosperity for all will be established in Pakistan, and world peace will then be established from Pakistan. And that may happen within 10 years, I don't know. It may happen in 20 years, it may happen in 5 years. We don't know how long it will happen, but I have no doubt at all that is the future of Pakistan, that is the destiny of Pakistan. And that is why the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, also said that my heart is in Pakistan. Pakistan is in my heart, because it is this wonderful, special place chosen to have this destiny of creating world peace. So people sometimes say, oh, that's not possible. Pakistan is center of terrorist activities. No, Pakistan is not the center of terrorist activities. Pakistan has been attacked and victimized by very, very evil, satanic forces, very powerful secret intelligence agencies from USA, from Israel, and from India too, trying to make it seem like Pakistan is a terrorist country. It's not. Pakistan is a very good country. Very pure-hearted people are there. And the name of God, Allahu Akbar, is heard all over the country daily. So even if everything else is bad in Pakistan, that alone is sufficient. Even if the mullahs or Maulvis are impure, even if they're not pure-hearted, and of course many of them aren't, just like religious leaders in every country, there are ones that aren't so good. But still, the name of God is so powerful that Allahu Akbar being sung out across the country regularly is in itself enough to help create Pakistan as the land of the pure. So what do you say, will India can attack on Pakistan, and what do you say about Modi? India may try to do surgical strikes or this or that, but they won't be able to destroy Pakistan. And Modi himself, he, very, very sad to say things like this, but I've seen it myself. He, of course, even the United States forbade him to come, would not give him a visa because of his role in the 2002, that's another false flag, Gujarat Holocaust, where a train full of Hindu pilgrims coming from Ayodhya back to Gujarat was bombed, and many Hindu pilgrims were killed, and it was blamed on Muslims. And Modi was then the chief minister of Gujarat, and his government failed to protect the Muslims that were then slaughtered. Over 2,000, 2,500, I don't know the exact figure, Muslims were slaughtered while police stood by watching. Even, it is said, police participated, and thousands were injured, and the figure I have heard is 150,000, 150,000 Muslims were uprooted from their homes, were dislocated. So this was done under Modi's tenure as chief minister in Gujarat, and he was accused by many people, including the United States, of not having protected the Muslim people of Gujarat, his own citizens of Gujarat, people of Gujarat. So that is very, very sad that he would do something like that. Again, I will say plainly, he is not a Hindu. He is doing things that are totally against the real spirit of the eternal Dharma. That's the name, according to the Sanskrit scriptures, of what we call the Hindu religion, is eternal religion, or Sanatan Dharma. So he is a Hindutvavadi. He is promoting a false understanding of Hinduism, which includes hatred of Muslims. And I will just mention one thing, because I was listening live to Modi's address in Madison Square Garden when he came to New York a couple of years ago. I can't remember exactly when it was, but he made this statement. There were a number of Gujarati Muslims present in the audience, and he saw them and he made a comment about them that was not at all nice. It was a very subtle comment about them. And when it was live, that statement appeared, and I said, oh my God, this guy, this Modi, he really hates Muslims. He doesn't like Muslims. And that statement he made then got deleted from the record. And when I tried to find it later, the tape recording had been altered. In that sentence or two, which he made a slur against those Gujarati Muslims, was deleted. It was excised, and you won't find it now in the recordings of that speech, but it was there. So this is simply an indication of how in every country, in every religion, there are good people and then there are bad people whose misunderstanding of religion causes a lot of problems, a lot of conflicts. So let's see, here's another question by Abdur Razik. Sir, don't you think that it is our foreign policy failure that we have become target of MOSSAD and RA? We shall have maintained good relations with India and Israel. Well, this is definitely a very, very difficult question, and it is a failure that Pakistan has not been able to maintain good relations with all countries in the world, but it's hardly a failure when you are being attacked and maligned by very, very powerful evil forces. So I think that this is going to change in the future, but right now this is the situation where it would be foolish for Pakistan to have so-called good relations with governments which are so anti-Pakistani and which are actually trying to destroy Pakistan. So this fact that Pakistan has become the target of MOSSAD and RA, the Research and Analysis Wing, the Indian Secret Intelligence Agency, most prominent one, what can we do? You know, you can't be friendly with somebody who's trying to cut your throat. You have to be very, very expert. And this is a very, very difficult position Pakistan is in now, especially because the world mass media is against Pakistan. So to get the truth out is difficult. So fortunately, by the internet, by people like myself, the truth is coming out slowly. and people are understanding the truth. So it's hard to maintain good relations with people who are maligning you and trying to destroy and trying to divide your country. It's well known. Recently it has come out that Indian agents, raw agents, are present in Baluchistan trying to create a terrorist organizations there, liberation armies there, and the same thing was going on in Sindh in 1980s, middle and early middle 80s. There were raw agents in Sindh. They're trying to create a Azad Sindh, a free Sindh movement, make Sindh into a separate state. So for decades, the enemies of Pakistan have been trying to divide Pakistan, have been trying to destroy Pakistan. So how to deal with such people, how to have so-called good relations with them is very, very difficult. And the most important thing to do is for the truth to be exposed, for the truth to be known by Pakistani people and by Indian people and by Israeli people, by American people, by people all over the world. We have to work very, very hard that the truth be made known. And a very, very important part, which is what this course, not only this course, but the institution of the Institute of All Intelligent Life, the whole purpose is to expose the truth about extraterrestrials. There are very, very good, supportive, kind and loving, highly spiritual extraterrestrial forces who are helping us, and there are very selfish, evil, satanic extraterrestrial forces that are trying to manipulate and control us, trying to divide humanity, trying to create, divisions between one group and another, not only between Hindus and Muslims or Christians and Muslims, but between Sunnis and Shias, between different sects of every religion. They're just trying to create hatred and division. So there are very powerful extraterrestrial forces behind this program, which has been going on for centuries and for millennia. But praise to God, the tide is turning. And these good extraterrestrial forces, as I mentioned yesterday, Corey Good is a representative of the Sphere Being Alliance, which is a coalition of 5 very highly spiritual, angelic, you may say, extraterrestrial groups who are now interfering in human affairs because they have to do it. Although their policy is not to interfere, but because we requested them to. Many human beings have understood what's going on and requested them to come and help us. So that so-called interference is going on. They're helping us. They've created a barricade around the solar system to prevent powerful evil forces from entering and disturbing our natural evolution, which will be very good and powerful, positive and good in the near future. We will see as the truth comes out more and more. So we should be very thankful that these forces of good are now preventing the age-old forces of evil, the satanic forces, from misleading us, from manipulating us, and in the very near future, as more of us become aware of what's happening on this higher extraterrestrial struggle that has been going on for a long time, we will be able to come together, work together. People of all nations, of all religions, will work together to stop this evil force. And Pakistan, God willing, will become a center of that goodness, that truthfulness, that love and mercy, that justice, that what we call in the Christian teaching the kingdom of God on earth, which was prophesied in every religious tradition that will come. So now that's happening, and I believe Pakistan has an important role to play in that establishment of that kingdom of God on earth, a divinely guided government, divinely guided military, divinely guided economy, everything. So society guided by divine teachings. Pakistan Zindabad. May God protect us all.